To me, this is some of the best news Bitcoin's seen in years.
In a long time.
Like seriously, okay, getting approval for the ETF is one thing. Seeing the state of Wisconsin drop 100 million, okay, and there's a lot of stories here, okay. I could have come up with 8 stories of wealthy people. A cowboy, a wealthy cowboy, has been in this since 2013. He's buying Bitcoin in a fund. You've got other groups announcing this. So I think we're in May. It's May the 15th.
Yeah, yeah.
We have now, 8 months left of the year. I mean, the year is rolling really fast now. These announcements are only going to continue. I mean, the validation that the state of Wisconsin would buy Bitcoin, like we should be popping champagne corks, okay? Because Texas will follow, Florida will follow, and then you start looking at this. I mean, Texas. I've always thought Texas or Florida or Oklahoma would be like, or Arizona. Hey, we're gonna actually play a hedge against the Fed. If I was running a state, I would absolutely put some Bitcoin on my balance sheet as a protection against the federal government destroying the value of the U.S. dollar.
You know what's also going to be fascinating about this that I just thought of is Trump just coming out as pro-Bitcoin. As more states start to say, hey, we're actually putting Bitcoin on our balance sheet and it's a part of your retirement fund, it means that states are indirectly tying
validating Trump,
but also a voter's financial interests now.
Yes.
So obviously, oh wait, what do you mean you're going to attack Bitcoin and hurt my retirement fund now? I mean, you want to talk about game theory on elections. I don't think they're thinking about that when they're doing this because Wisconsin's a kind of a swing state. But that's going to matter. That's going to start to matter. And now people who are older are going to be like, wait a minute. So the state's doing it. Why are politicians not talking about this stuff?
Yeah.
I think that even moves us over to our next talking point, which is still in the states category. Oklahoma just passed a landmark bill protecting Bitcoin rights. So this was passed by the Satoshi Action Fund, and then there's also an Oklahoma Bitcoin Initiative. And I know people from both of those, Dennis Porter and some of the people out in Oklahoma.
Dennis, thank you for the work you're doing, man. You're traveling all over the place. A lot of work. Appreciate what you're doing.
He's incredible. And there's also, believe it or not, Oklahoma has a state government position. It's filled by my buddy RJ, who is strictly focused on, I think he's under their attorney general, on like figuring out ways to promote Bitcoin. So they're kind of like Florida. They're one of the few states that have a dedicated position to this kind of stuff. But let's go over this bill. The bill guarantees the right to self-custody, which was a big congressional issue, if you guys remember just last week, where only 21, I think, or 27 Democratic votes voted for self-custody, whereas every Republican voted for it, and then the majority of Democrats voted against it. So this sets precedent. It sets legal precedent, which was one of the most important things. So Oklahoma, this is from Dennis's Twitter, Oklahoma will now defend your right to self-custody, right to spend Bitcoin and digital assets, right to mine, and other, what's this say? Show more. Yeah, take me to his Twitter. What else does he say? Which, by the way, the right to mine bill, which he's also notorious for, is all about ensuring that states can't discriminate against Bitcoin miners specifically for just operating business. Because there were states like New York that were trying to pass legislation essentially saying, we're going to treat you as a different subset and regulate you specifically.
Yeah.
This just says you're not allowed to do that. You have to treat us fairly like any other industry.
It's funny how the current government seems to be actively discriminating against certain businesses and classes. I don't know when this just became public where, states could, we're going to penalize this group of people and make up some new rules.
Well, if you think about it, you're in oil and gas. Haven't they always been doing that? Like the government, depending on the party, has always been targeting oil and gas as an industry. I mean, hasn't the government always tried to leverage and target specific industries based on sometimes donors?
Yeah, but
do you think this is like different?
Yeah, I think the government coming out and literally, trying to put a tax on a miner. One, they're just showing their total ignorance.
Yeah, of course.
Because you'll never win that. Like if this is a commodity, then why wouldn't you treat crude oil the same way?
Yeah.
Like Bitcoin is going to be treated exactly like crude oil. There's not going to be any tax differentiation. It makes no sense whatsoever that you would discriminate against a miner. It'll just put that would be like okay, the Chinese get a 100% tariff on any car that comes into the United States. It's going to make it impossible for the Chinese to operate here. Mm-hmm. So what they're literally saying is we're going to make it impossible for a U.S. company to compete in the Bitcoin landscape or industry, an industry that's most certainly going to be at least a few $1 trillion in size. I think, we could see $4 or $5 trillion in the Bitcoin industry in the next, say, 12 months by this kind of volume. And the dominance, if I know we're not going to get into the charting and Chris is going to join us, the dominance of Bitcoin is accelerating now. I don't think we're going to see the dominance ever lower than what we have right now, which is around 56%, 55 if I'm correct.
And I agree. I mean, we're building the foundation. All this is just like a bill like this.
Dude, a bill like this is very important. I'm surprised that this happened this early. Are you?
To be honest, actually, no, because we've had so much pro-Bitcoin legislation. And over the past, you haven't seen it, but over the past 5 years, like the amount of work, so Dennis goes in and he passes this, but the amount of time he's actually spent doing this, you're talking 3 to 5 years. And I only know that because I'm in the industry. If you're not in the industry, then you're like, whoa, like this is all of a sudden. But they've been talking and educating these people for a very long time. And in policy, it takes 3 to 5, even sometimes 7 years. I mean, just in Florida, the rule is I want to pass a bill, it's going to die the first 3 years. It's the 4th year that I'm going to pass it. They tell you that from the get-go. If you can get a bill passed in the first 2 years, you're like a god. You're like, whoa, it must have been something really good and really important. It's an investment, and you're just now starting to see the investment pay off.
Interesting. Well, I think this is really good news. I wasn't expecting this, but, the right to self-custody, the right to spend Bitcoin and digital assets at not a tax liability relative to other currencies used to buy things. Like they said that in there. Hey, look, the tax treatment cannot be different on Bitcoin than it is on a U.S. dollar when you're buying my favorite thing, buying a bag of potato chips with Bitcoin. Why you would do that, I'm not sure at this stage of the game, but they are basically clearing the way for saying, hey, look, you cannot treat Bitcoin differently. Again, like who believes they're going to get away with this? Treating an asset class very differently than other asset classes. Literally just making up the rules. Look, you professional politicians that are older than 70 years old, you're too old to be in the job. You need to let go and let some other guys like the lady we met the other day, 37-year-old Anna. Yeah. And some younger people that are better equipped for the technological age that we're going through. We're using 1933 rules on securities and commodities control the 21st century, America's move into the 21st century. It is ludicrous. It is like bringing a horse and buggy to a NASCAR race, man. Like we're going to lose. So I would just encourage people to look at when you vote in this political structure, because we are having a political fight right here. Yeah. We have freedom fight. To me, this is a freedom fight of introducing new technology and making it available for all Americans, in fact, all human people, to better their lives. And America standing in the way of that is not going to obtain votes. It's not going to help America, and it's not going to help American citizens. So, when I see Oklahoma passing bills like this, and I see the state of Wisconsin buying Bitcoin.
How could you not be bullish?
Like, seriously, okay? You have BlackRock, Larry Fink saying, we are going to tokenize everything. He is saying that because it's good for his business, and he's finally seen that we are heading down the digitization of planet Earth. Like, this is going to happen now, and they're preparing, not only them. By the way, this is early news. I think the CPI is not moving Bitcoin. Can somebody pull up the Bitcoin price? Because I think what's moving Bitcoin, $4,000 today, is this news. Okay, people are like, whoa, these are not gangsters. This is not Eminem buying Bitcoin. Okay, now these might be gangsters, but they're some
Yeah.
of the biggest gangsters in the world. And we've got a 4.46% move today on Bitcoin. About $4,000, it's 64-ish. And everybody was wimping out last night in our spaces, saying, hey,
Oh,
we're going to
bunch
go
of
test
babies.
52, dude.
Yeah.
Literally, people were saying, hey, we're going to test 52. I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off looking for some more money because all these chartists are going, hey, it's going to collapse. It's going to go to 52, 55. I'm trying to figure out how I buy some more at 55.